Morning came too quickly on Lysaria, though the perpetual twilight made it difficult for Amy to gauge the time she joined the rest of the human delegation for breakfast in their shared common room. The food provided by their hosts looked like fruit and bread but tasted subtly different. Commander Wilson was already in deep discussion with Dr. Melissa Green, the team's medical specialist. "Amy, have you heard this?" Dr. Green looked up as Amy approached, her eyes wide with excitement. "Kalira shared information about their immortality science with me last night. It's revolutionary. The applications for human medicine are extraordinary. Even without full implementation, we could eliminate most diseases, extend human lifespan by decades." "Commander," Wilson frowned. "I had a similar conversation with another council member. They seem very interested in sharing this technology." The ship's security officer, Lieutenant Susan Taylor, joined them, her expression grim. "I don't trust it," she said bluntly. "They're offering us the holy grail of human desire, with barely any negotiation. What do they really want?" Amy hesitated, then shared what Kalira had told her about the blood requirement. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "That's barbaric," Taylor said eventually. "They want to turn us into a food source, Doctor." Green shook her head. "Not necessarily. The amount of blood required might be minimal, comparable to regular donation, and the benefits could outweigh the costs," dramatically Wilson raised, her hand to silence the brewing argument. "We need more information before we make any judgments. Let's continue our scheduled meetings with the Council today and gather as much data as possible. Remember, we're here to establish diplomatic relations, not make unilateral decisions about humanity's future." The delegation was escorted to the council chambers, a vast circular room with a domed ceiling that displayed what appeared to be a real-time map of the galaxy. The 5 human representatives looked small and out of place among the tall Lysarians who stood in a semicircle before them. Kalira occupied the central position, flanked by council members of various shades of blue and purple. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," Kalira's voice echoed in the chamber. "We trust you found your accommodations satisfactory." Commander Wilson stepped forward. "We thank you for your hospitality. The delegation has been discussing your generous offer to share immortality technology with humanity. We have questions if you would be willing to address them." Kalira nodded. "Of course, that is why we are here." Wilson gestured to Dr. Green, who stepped forward. "Your biotechnology is remarkable, but we need to understand the specifics. What exactly is required from humans in this exchange?" Another council member stepped forward, this one with deep purple skin and elaborate markings on his face. "The symbiotic organism requires regular infusion of specific proteins found in human blood," he explained. "The optimal arrangement would be a ratio of 1 immortal human to 5 non-modified humans providing sustenance." Amy felt her stomach tighten at the casual way he described the arrangement. Dr. Green continued her questioning. "How much blood would be required, and how frequently?" "The organism requires approximately 100 milliliters of blood every 30 days, the purple Lysarian answered. "This amount would not harm the donor, Lieutenant." Taylor spoke next, without being called on. "So for every human granted immortality, 5 others would serve as blood donors for eternity." "Not eternity," Kalira corrected. "Nothing truly lasts forever. The donors would live normal human lifespans and be replaced as needed. The arrangement would be comfortable for them. They would want for nothing." The implications hung heavy in the air. Amy could see Taylor's face hardening with each word, while Dr. Green looked troubled but still intrigued. The team's anthropologist, Dr. Marie Chen, had remained silent throughout, the exchange her expression unreadable. Commander Wilson asked the next question. "How would you determine which humans received immortality and which became donors?" Kalira's black eyes seemed to glitter in the strange light. "We would select based on genetic compatibility, intelligence, and potential value to both our species. Natural leaders, scientists, artists, those with exceptional qualities. That is not our way," Wilson said firmly. "Earth does not operate on a system where an external power decides the worth of individuals." Kalira tilted her head. Perhaps that is why your civilization remains so primitive by comparison. Despite your technological advancements, your societal structures are inefficient. Your potential is squandered on the unworthy. The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. The true nature of the offer was becoming clearer. Amy stepped forward without thinking. "May I ask a question? Kalira?" The alien nodded gracefully. "Your people have been observing Earth for some time. Is this the first contact you've made with humans?" The council members exchanged glances, a subtle communication passing between them. Finally, Kalira spoke. "We attempted contact approximately 300 Earth years ago. The humans of that era were not receptive." Amy pressed further. "What happened? They recognized the nature of our offer and rejected it." Kalira said. Her tone was neutral, but Amy sensed something like respect in her words. They preferred their short lives and freedom to the alternative, Commander. Wilson straightened her posture. "Then perhaps humans haven't changed as much as you thought. We respectfully request time to discuss your proposal privately before giving our response." Kalira inclined her head. "Take all the time you require. We have waited centuries. We can wait longer." The human delegation was escorted back to their quarters where an intense debate erupted. Lieutenant Taylor was vehemently opposed to the offer, calling it enslavement, packaged as a gift. Dr. Green argued for further negotiation, believing the medical benefits could be separated from the exploitative arrangement. Dr. Chen finally spoke, suggesting that the cultural exchange alone was valuable regardless of the immortality question. Commander Wilson turned to Amy, who had remained quiet during the heated discussion. "Your thoughts, Foster?" Amy considered carefully. "The Lysarians aren't lying about what they're offering, but they're not telling us everything either. Their interest in humanity isn't benevolent." She paused, collecting her thoughts. "They need us biologically. I think their immortality is failing." The others looked at her with surprise. "What makes you say that?" Wilson asked. "Several things," Amy explained. "The way they emphasized genetic compatibility. The fact that they waited until now to contact us again despite observing us for centuries. The absence of any Lysarians who appear elderly or infirm in their population. I think they're experiencing some kind of genetic bottleneck. Their immortality. Organisms may be losing effectiveness." Dr. Green's eyes widened. "That would make sense from a biological perspective. Any closed system eventually experiences entropy. They might need new genetic material to stabilize their symbiotic organisms, if Amy's right," Taylor added. "Then this isn't a gift, it's a harvest." Wilson nodded grimly. "We need more information tonight at the diplomatic reception. I want each of you to speak with different council members. See what you can learn. Amy, you focus on Kalira. She seems to have taken an interest in you. Use that." When evening came, the human delegation dressed in their formal uniforms and were escorted to a vast hall where hundreds of Lysarians had gathered. The architecture was stunning, with spiraling columns that seemed to be made of living crystal and a floor that rippled like water beneath their feet. Music unlike anything Amy had ever heard filled the air, complex harmonies that seemed to shift and evolve organically, as planned. The human team split up, mingling with their hosts. Amy made her way through the crowd, searching for Kalira. She found the Lysarian counselor observing the gathering from a raised platform. "You seem troubled, Amy Foster," Kalira said as Amy approached. Her voice was melodic, almost hypnotic. Amy decided directness was her best strategy. "Your offer is generous but incomplete. What aren't you telling us about your need for humans?" Kalira's expression remained impassive, but something flickered in those black eyes. "You are perceptive for a species so young." She gestured for Amy to follow her away from the crowd. They moved to a private alcove overlooking gardens that glowed with bioluminescent flora. "The truth is more complex than what was shared in the council," Chamber Kalira began. "Our immortality is indeed failing. The symbiotic organisms that grant us extended life are becoming less effective with each generation. They require genetic diversity to remain viable. So you need human blood to save yourselves." Amy said. "Not merely blood," Kalira corrected. "Genetic material. Human DNA has certain unique properties, qualities we have not found in any other species we've encountered. Your adaptability, your resilience, your capacity for rapid evolution. These traits make you ideal partners for our continued existence. Amy processed this information. So this isn't about helping humanity at all. It's about saving yourselves. Kalira's lips curved in what might have been a smile. Is mutual benefit not possible? Does it matter why we offer immortality? If the gift is real, it matters. If you're not being honest about the cost, Amy countered, how many humans would you need? Kalira hesitated. For optimal results, approximately 20% of your population would receive immortality. The remaining 80% would serve as donors. Amy felt sick. 5 billion people reduced to blood farms for 1 billion immortals. The scale was staggering. It would be painless. Kalira added, they would be well cared for there. Slaves would be better than what they currently experience on your overcrowded, resource-depleted planet. The starship horizon broke through the crimson clouds of planet Lysaria, casting long shadows across the alien landscape below. Amy Foster gripped her seat as the vessel shuddered during its final descent. Her knuckles turned white, but her face remained calm, betraying none of the anxiety that churned inside her stomach. The landing gear extended with a mechanical whine, followed by a gentle thud as the ship touched down on foreign soil. Amy took a deep breath and adjusted her uniform. The air mission patch on her shoulder displayed Earth's symbol alongside the words First Contact Initiative. She was one of 5 humans chosen for this historic meeting, a xenobiologist selected for her brilliant mind and exceptional ability to adapt to new environments. The discovery of the Lysarians 3 months ago had sent shockwaves through human society. An advanced alien civilization that had apparently been watching humanity for centuries. Commander Kate Wilson approached Amy with a stern expression on her weathered face. Remember the protocol, Foster. No sudden movements, no unauthorized sampling, and absolutely no wandering off. The commander had led 3 previous first contact missions, but never with a species as advanced as the Lysarians. Even she couldn't completely hide her nervousness. The airlock hissed open, revealing a landscape bathed in eternal twilight. Lysaria orbited a red dwarf star in such a way that most of the planet experienced neither full day nor complete night. The perpetual dusk gave the alien world an otherworldly beauty that made Amy gasp. The sky burned with deep purple and crimson hues, while strange luminescent plants cast an eerie blue glow across the landing zone as the human delegation descended. The ramp, Amy noticed a group of figures waiting at the edge of the designated meeting area. The Lysarians stood perfectly still, their posture almost unnaturally rigid. They were humanoid, but clearly alien. Their skin ranged from pale blue to deep indigo with a subtle shimmer that caught the dim light. Their eyes were entirely black without visible pupils, and they stood nearly 7 feet tall with slender limbs that seemed too long for their bodies. The tallest Lysarian stepped forward with fluid grace that reminded Amy of a predator. Her movements were both beautiful and somehow threatening. She wore an elaborate garment that seemed to flow around her body like liquid silver. I am Kalira of the High Council. She spoke in perfect English. Though her mouth movements didn't quite match the words, Amy realized she must be using some form of advanced translation technology. Welcome to Lysaria. We have awaited your arrival with great anticipation. Commander Wilson performed the practiced greeting. We come in peace as representatives of Earth and humanity. We seek friendship and mutual understanding between our worlds. Kalira's expression remained unreadable, but Amy thought she detected something like amusement in those black eyes. You will be escorted to the capital city where accommodations have been prepared. She gestured toward a hovering transport vehicle that had no visible means of propulsion. We have much to discuss. The journey to the capital took them through landscapes that defied earthly comparison. Forests of crystalline trees that chimed softly in the wind, fields of what appeared to be flowers that opened and closed in rhythm with the humans passing, and most impressively the city itself, a sprawling metropolis of impossible architecture, buildings that seemed to defy gravity, structures that shifted and changed as if alive, vehicles that moved silently through the air without visible technology. The Lysarian capital city was home to thousands of aliens, all moving with that same predatory grace. Amy noticed something odd about the population. There seemed to be no children, no elderly. Every Lysarian appeared to be in the prime of life. The human delegation was given a suite of rooms in what Kalira called the Hall of Diplomatic Relations. The accommodations were luxurious if somewhat alien in design, with furniture that adjusted itself to human physiology and lighting that responded to their comfort levels. That evening, a reception was held. In honor of the human visitors, Amy found herself separated from her teammates as various Lysarian officials engaged them in conversation. She wandered toward a balcony overlooking the city, marveling at how the buildings glowed from within like massive bioluminescent organisms. "You find our world fascinating." Kalira's voice startled Amy. She hadn't heard the alien approach. "It's incredible," Amy admitted. "Your technology is beyond anything we've achieved." Kalira stepped closer, her movements fluid and silent. "What you call technology, we consider simply the natural evolution of civilization. We have had much longer to develop than your species." Amy's scientific curiosity got the better of her. "How long has your civilization existed?" Kalira's black eyes studied Amy with unsettling intensity. "Our recorded history spans 50,000 of your Earth years, but we as individuals experience much of that history firsthand." Amy frowned, not understanding. "I'm sorry, what do you mean?" "I am 527 years old by your measurement of time." Kalira said this casually as if discussing the weather. Amy failed to hide her shock. "That's impossible. No biological organism could live so long without significant cellular degradation." Kalira's lips curved into what might have been a smile, revealing teeth that seemed just a bit too sharp for comfort. "That is where you are mistaken. Amy Foster. We discovered the key to biological immortality millennia ago. Death by aging is a choice for, it's not an inevitability." Amy's mind raced with the implications. An entire civilization of immortals. The scientific advancements they could achieve with lifespans measured in centuries. The knowledge a single individual could accumulate. The possibilities were staggering. "Would you like to know our secret?" Kalira asked, leaning closer. Amy felt both professional curiosity and personal desire rise within her. "Yes," she admitted, unable to hide her eagerness. "Centuries ago we discovered a microorganism in the depths of our oceans." Kalira explained. "When bonded with a host, it prevents cellular decay, effectively halting the aging process. It repairs damage, strengthens immunity, and allows continuous renewal of tissues. And you could share this with humanity." Amy whispered, the implications overwhelming her. Kalira's expression became unreadable. "We could. This is partly why we have finally revealed ourselves to your kind. We believe humanity has reached a stage where such knowledge could be beneficial to both our species." Amy's heart raced. "But why now? Why wait until this point in our development?" Kalira turned to gaze out at the city. "The organism requires certain conditions to bond successfully with a host. Your species has only recently evolved to a point where compatibility is possible." She paused. "And there is something else you should understand. The gift of immortality comes with a price." Amy felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening air. "What price?" "The organisms require a specific protein complex to survive," Kalira explained. "One that in humans is most concentrated in your blood. The amount needed is small but constant." Amy understood immediately. "You drink blood," she said quietly. Kalira nodded. "We prefer the term hematophagic symbiosis. But essentially, yes, the immortality organisms require regular consumption of blood to maintain their function." Amy tried to process this revelation. These advanced beings, these seemingly perfect immortals, were essentially vampires. The thought was both terrifying and absurdly amusing. Kalira seemed to read her thoughts. "We are not the monsters of your mythology. We do not kill for sustenance. The relationship is symbiotic mutual, a small sacrifice for eternal life." "But who would provide this blood?" Amy asked. "Would everyone receive immortality?" "No," Kalira said candidly. "Only those deemed worthy. The rest would serve as sustenance." Amy felt her blood run cold. "So some humans would become cattle." "Not cattle," Kalira corrected. "Partners, Some would achieve immortality, others would provide sustenance, a balanced ecosystem. Amy thought of Earth, its overpopulation problems, the environmental damage caused by too many humans living too long. Would humanity accept such an arrangement? Some would, certainly jump at the chance for immortality regardless of the cost. But others. The ethical implications were staggering. Kalira placed a cool hand on Amy's arm. I sense your discomfort, but consider the alternative. Your kind lives briefly, burns brightly, then fades away. All your knowledge, experience, wisdom lost to the void. Is that not also a tragedy? Amy had no immediate answer. She had never feared death, seeing it as the natural conclusion to life. But faced with an alternative, she found herself questioning everything she thought she knew. Do not answer now, Kalira said. Consider our offer. The council will expect your team's response tomorrow. She glided away, leaving Amy alone with thoughts that would not quiet. Later that night, Amy lay awake, in her alien bed, staring at the ceiling that seemed to shimmer with stars. She thought of her mother, who had died of cancer when Amy was just 20. Her grandfather lost to heart disease. Her friend Olivia killed in a car accident. All that human potential erased in moments. How many great minds had humanity lost to the cruel march of time? But the price: blood-farming humans serving as food for other humans. The image was disturbing, yet wasn't this simply a more direct version of what already happened on Earth? The wealthy living off the labor of the poor, the privileged few benefiting from the sacrifices of the many. At least this arrangement was honest in its inequality. Amy rolled onto her side, watching the alien city through her window. The buildings seemed to pulse gently, as if breathing. She wondered how many of the Lysarians out there had lived for centuries. What wonders had they seen? What knowledge had they accumulated? Amy hurried back through the reception hall, searching for Commander Wilson. She found her leader in conversation with a group of Lysarians, their tall forms making the human commander look unusually small. Amy caught Wilson's eye and gave the subtle signal they had agreed upon earlier. Wilson excused herself and followed Amy to a quiet corner. What did you learn? Foster Wilson asked. Keeping her voice low, Amy quickly relayed her conversation with Kalira, emphasizing the true scale of the Lysarian plan and their desperate need for human genetic material. They want to use us as a resource. Their immortality is failing and they need our DNA to save themselves. Wilson's face darkened. The others have discovered similar information, Dr. Chen learned. They've been observing Earth for centuries, longer than they admitted. They've been waiting for our population to grow large enough to sustain their needs. What about Dr. Green? Amy asked, knowing the physician had been most open to the Lysarian offer. She's troubled, Wilson replied. Even she can't justify the scale of what they're proposing, though she still believes we might negotiate for some of their medical technology without accepting the full arrangement. Amy nodded. The Lysarians do possess knowledge that could benefit humanity, but the cost they're asking is too high. The team reconvened in their private quarters an hour later, comparing notes and discussing options. Dr. Chen had discovered that the Lysarians had visited multiple worlds over millennia, always with the same offer, always with the same results: domination and eventual absorption of the host species. They're parasites on a galactic scale. Lieutenant Taylor said, her face flushed with anger. They find worlds with compatible life forms, offer immortality to the elite, and turn the rest into cattle. Once they've extracted what they need, they move on. Dr. Green looked shaken. I examined their medical database under the guise of scientific exchange. Their biotechnology is incredible, but Taylor is right. The pattern is clear on every world they've visited, and now it's our turn, Wilson said grimly. The question is, what do we do about it? Earth sent us to establish diplomatic relations, not make decisions that could affect the entire human race. Amy thought about Kalira's words, the strange respect the alien had shown for the humans who had rejected their offer 3 centuries ago. They fought rather than submit. Kalira had said, many died, but they drove us away. We need to contact Earth Command. Amy said, our ship has a secure quantum communication system that should work even from this distance. We need to warn them. Wilson, Nodded. We'll need a distraction. The Lysarians have been monitoring us closely. I doubt they'd let us return to our ship without supervision. Dr. Chen spoke up. The council mentioned a tour of their scientific facilities tomorrow morning that would split their attention. Good, Taylor added. We need a 2-person team to slip back to the ship while the rest keep the Lysarians occupied. I volunteer I'll go too, Amy said. I know the ship's communication systems best. Wilson agreed. Foster and Taylor will make contact with Earth Command while the rest of us maintain the diplomatic facade. She looked at each team member, her expression grave. This mission has become something none of us anticipated. We're now Earth's first line of defense against a potential threat. Remember your training and stay alert. The next morning, the plan was set in motion. Dr. Green expressed enthusiastic interest in the Lysarian medical facilities, while Dr. Chen requested access to their historical archives. Commander Wilson accompanied them, maintaining the appearance of normal diplomatic relations. Meanwhile, Amy and Lieutenant Taylor made excuses about human biological needs requiring rest. The Lysarian escort seemed suspicious, but allowed them to return to their quarters. Once alone, they waited until the escort moved to a discreet distance, then slipped out. Through an emergency exit Taylor had identified during her security assessment, moving through the alien city proved challenging. The architecture was disorienting, with buildings that seemed to shift and change. Paths that appeared straight would curve unexpectedly. Several times they had to hide as Lysarians passed by, their tall forms moving with that distinctive predatory grace. Do you get the feeling they're watching us? Taylor whispered as they crouched behind a crystalline structure that hummed with energy. Amy nodded. They probably have surveillance systems we can't even comprehend, she replied. Just keep moving. The landing zone is 2 kilometers in that direction. They continued their cautious journey through the outskirts of the city. The landscape gradually changed from urban structures to the strange crystalline forests they had seen upon arrival. The trees, if they could be called that, chimed softly as wind passed through them, creating an ethereal melody that seemed to follow their movement. The horizon came into view, its sleek form, a welcome sight of human technology amid the alien landscape. Amy felt a surge of relief that quickly vanished when she spotted movement around the ship Lysarians. Taylor hissed, pulling Amy behind cover. At least 6 of them guarding the ship. Amy studied the situation. The aliens had positioned themselves strategically around the vessel. Their posture was alert, clearly expecting trouble. We need a distraction, she whispered. Taylor nodded. I'll circle around to the east side and create a diversion when they move to investigate. Make for the ship. Get that message sent no matter what. Before Amy could protest, the security officer slipped away, moving silently through the underbrush. Amy waited, heart pounding in her chest. Minutes passed with excruciating slowness. Then a series of explosions erupted on the far side of the landing zone. Taylor must have used her emergency flares. The Lysarian guards reacted immediately, 4 of them moving toward the disturbance with alarming speed. Amy waited until they were out of sight, then made her dash toward the ship, staying low and moving as quickly as she dared. The 2 remaining guards had their backs to her, focused on the commotion. Amy reached the ship's outer hull and pressed her palm against the emergency access panel. The small door designed for evacuations in hostile environments slid open with a soft hiss. She slipped inside and sealed it behind her. The ship's interior was dark, running on minimal power. She made her way to the command deck and activated the communication system. Earth was light years away, but the quantum entanglement technology should allow near-instant transmission. This is xenobiologist Amy Foster of the Earth vessel Horizon. She began recording a priority. 1 message to Earth Command. First contact with Lysarians has revealed hostile intent. She quickly summarized what they had learned about the aliens' true plans and their history of exploitation. Our diplomatic team is currently maintaining cover, while we attempt to extract additional intelligence. Suggests Lysarians have visited Earth before approximately 300 years ago and were repelled. We recommend immediate military alert and preparation for possible hostile action. Send assistance. Amy transmitted the message and waited for confirmation. The system blinked green, indicating successful delivery. She sighed with relief, just as she was about to leave the command deck and find Taylor. The main hatch of the ship hissed open, expecting Taylor. Amy moved toward the entrance but froze when Kalira stepped into the ship. The Lysarian counselor's black eyes found her immediately. "Did you really believe we wouldn't monitor your vessel?" Kalira asked, her voice eerily calm. Amy backed away, looking for an escape route or weapon. "How did you find me?" Kalira moved further into the ship with fluid grace. "Your thermal signature is distinctive, and your companion provided an obvious distraction." Amy felt cold fear grip her heart. "What have you done with Lieutenant Taylor?" "She is unharmed for now," Kalira replied, "but her future depends on your cooperation, as does the future of your species." Amy stood her ground. "I've already contacted Earth. They know everything. Your plan has failed." Kalira's expression remained unreadable. "Your message was intercepted, Amy Foster. We control all transmissions from our world. Nothing reached your Earth command." Amy felt hope drain from her. Was Kalira bluffing? The transmission had shown successful delivery, but the Lysarians' technology was far beyond human understanding. They could have created a false confirmation. "What happens now?" Amy asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "That depends on you," Kalira said. "We still desire an arrangement with humanity. The terms could be negotiated, made more favorable. Perhaps only 10% of your population would be required." Amy shook her head in disgust. "Even now you think this is about percentages and ratios. You still don't understand. We will never accept your offer, no matter how you phrase it. Enslavement is still enslavement." Kalira moved closer, her tall form looming over Amy. "Such primitive thinking. Your species already practices inequality and exploitation. You allow millions to starve while others live in excess. You destroy your environment for temporary comfort. At least our system is honest. The benefit is clear, the cost transparent. We offer order, purpose, and eternal life to those worthy of it. Who are you to decide who is worthy?" Amy shot back, anger overriding her fear. "That's not your right." Kalira's eyes narrowed. "We have lived for millennia, watched civilizations rise and fall. We have seen the pattern repeated countless times. The strong survive, the weak perish. That is the only constant in this universe. We simply offer a more efficient version of natural selection." "How did you escape?" Wilson demanded, addressing her team while keeping her eyes fixed on Kalira. Taylor grinned despite a visible bruise on her face. "Turns out their guards aren't used to actual resistance. They expected compliance, not a fight." Dr. Chen held up a small device. "We found this in their scientific facility. It disrupts their neural patterns, temporarily paralyzes them. The Lysarians developed it to control other species, but it works on them too." Kalira's expression remained calm, but Amy sensed tension in her posture. "Your resourcefulness is impressive," she said, "but this ship cannot leave our world. We control the planetary defense grid. Any attempt to launch would result in immediate destruction." Wilson stepped forward, motioning for Amy to join the human group. Amy moved carefully, keeping her distance from Kalira. "We're not leaving without answers," she said. "First, tell us the truth. What happened 300 years ago when you first contacted Earth?" Kalira was silent for a moment, as if weighing her options. "Very well. A truthful exchange may benefit us all," she finally said. 3 centuries ago, our scouts discovered your world. We observed your species for several decades and found you genetically compatible with our needs. We made contact with human leaders offering the same arrangement we proposed to you. What happened?" Amy asked. "We were rejected." Kalira continued. "Human religious leaders called us demons. Your scientists could not comprehend our technology. Your military leaders saw us as invaders. We attempted to take by force what was not freely given. There was conflict, casualties." Dr. Green asked her medical training, making her focus on the human cost. Kalira nodded. "Many on both sides. But your ancestors were resourceful. They discovered that certain compounds in your blood could harm our symbiotic organisms. They developed weapons that targeted our immortality. We were forced to retreat. Taylor laughed harshly. So the vampires were driven away with wooden stakes and garlic. Not precisely, Kalira replied. But your mythology contains echoes of truth. The experience taught us that force was inefficient. We decided to wait until humanity had advanced enough to appreciate our offer, until your population had grown large, enough to sustain our needs. Wilson stepped closer to Kalira, her stance aggressive. And now you expect us to willingly accept what our ancestors rejected. Kalira's black eyes moved from one human face to another. I expected debate, negotiation, a compromise, beneficial to both species. I did not anticipate this level of resistance. Again, you surprise us, because you still don't understand humans. Amy said, you see our shorter lifespans as a weakness, but they're our strength. We value life precisely because it's finite. Because we know it will end, we make the most of our time. We create, we explore, we love with an intensity your kind has forgotten. Dr. Chen nodded. Our cultures evolve rapidly because new generations bring new ideas. Our art and music constantly reinvent themselves. Our science advances because we know we won't live to see all the answers ourselves, so we build upon each other's work. What you call weakness, we call humanity. Dr. Green added, and we wouldn't trade it for immortality, certainly, not at the cost you're asking. For a long moment, Kalira was silent. The ship's systems hummed in the background, creating an eerie soundtrack to the standoff. Finally, she spoke. There is wisdom in your words, a perspective we had not considered. Perhaps our long lives have indeed led to stagnation. Don't try to manipulate us, Taylor warned. The security officer still held her weapon trained on Kalira. Your entire species has built itself around exploiting others. People like you don't change. Kalira tilted her head. Your mistrust is warranted, but consider this. If we had wanted to destroy you, we could have done so the moment you entered our ship. We have the technology to neutralize you instantly. Yet here we stand talking. What are you suggesting? Wilson asked, her voice still hard with suspicion. A true exchange, Kalira said. Not the arrangement we originally proposed, but something new, something equal. We share our medical technology to help extend human lifespans and cure diseases. You share your cultural vitality, your evolutionary adaptability. Together, we might find a solution to our genetic stagnation without exploitation. Amy studied Kalira, searching for signs of deception. The alien's face was difficult to read, but her posture had changed, become less predatory, more open. Was it possible she was sincere? Or was this just another manipulation? How do we know we can trust you? Amy asked. You don't. Kalira admitted. Just as we do not know if we can trust you. Trust must be earned over time. But we can begin with a gesture of good faith. She reached slowly into a pocket of her flowing garment and removed a small crystalline device. I will deactivate the planetary defense grid. Your ship will be free to leave Lysaria with what you have learned. Wilson frowned suspiciously. Why would you do that? Because forcing you to stay would only confirm your worst fears about us, Kalira replied. If there is to be any hope of a relationship between our species, it must begin with freedom, not coercion. The human team exchanged glances, silently communicating their doubts. Finally, Wilson spoke. If we leave, what guarantee do we have that you won't follow us to Earth with your fleet? We will provide you with the frequencies of our ships. Kalira said you will be able to detect any Lysarian vessel that approaches your world. And as another gesture of good faith, I will share something our council would not approve. Kalira held out her hand, palm up. A small holographic display appeared, showing what looked like a molecular structure. This is the weakness in our symbiotic organisms. The compound that makes us vulnerable. Dr. Green stepped closer, studying the hologram with professional interest. That's similar to compounds found in human blood, but with a specific protein marker I could synthesize this. Exactly, Kalira said. Should we ever threaten your world, you would have the means to defend yourselves, Taylor scoffed. This could be false information. A trick it could be. Kalira agreed. But you have scientists who can verify it, and what would I gain by lying? Your suspicion is already at its peak. Amy watched this exchange with growing amazement. Was Kalira truly offering them a weapon against her own species? Or was this part of some deeper strategy she couldn't fathom? What do you hope to gain from this? Amy asked. Kalira turned those bottomless black eyes to her, a chance for something new. The Council is set in its ways, millennia of the same approach, the same philosophy. But some of us have begun to question whether our path is sustainable, whether immortality without growth, without change is truly living. Wilson lowered her weapon slightly. You're talking about a faction within your society, not yet organized, Kalira said. But, growing your arrival, your resistance has accelerated what was already beginning. A questioning, a desire for change. The command deck fell silent as the humans processed this revelation. The idea that their small team might have inadvertently sparked political change in an ancient alien civilization was overwhelming. What would this true exchange look like? Dr. Chen asked, breaking the silence. How would it actually work? Kalira seemed pleased by the question. A delegation of Lysarians would visit Earth under strict supervision. Their movements monitored, their numbers limited. They would share medical technology. Human scientists would collaborate with ours to find a solution to our genetic stagnation, a solution that requires no ongoing exploitation. In return, we would share our knowledge of the galaxy, the civilizations we've encountered, the dangers that exist beyond your solar system. It sounds reasonable, Amy said. But the Council would never agree to this. You said so yourself. They will resist, Kalira acknowledged. But they also fear extinction. Our current path leads to our end within a few thousand years. They know this. They simply have no alternative vision. I believe I can convince enough of them that cooperation offers a better future than domination. Wilson stepped forward, lowering her weapon completely. We would need to return to Earth, discuss this with our leaders. Any agreement would require extensive negotiation and safeguards, of course. Kalira said, I would expect nothing less. Do we believe her? Taylor asked, looking at her teammates. Amy studied Kalira carefully, trying to see past the alien features to whatever truth might lie beneath. She remembered their conversations, the moments when Kalira had seemed genuinely curious about humanity, not just calculating. She thought about the respect Kalira had shown for the humans who had resisted centuries ago. I think she's telling the truth, Amy said, or at least part of it. I think she does want change. Whether the rest of her kind will accept it is another question. Wilson nodded. We take this information back to Earth. Let our leaders decide. I won't commit humanity to anything without proper authority. Kalira seemed to accept this. She moved to a control panel on the ship and interfaced with it somehow. The ship's systems came to life, main power, returning engines beginning their startup sequence. Your vessel is now free to depart, she said. I have deactivated the security measures that would have prevented your launch. Do we know you won't shoot us down the moment we leave the atmosphere? Wilson asked. You don't, Kalira admitted. But ask yourself what purpose that would serve. We could have killed you at any time during your stay. If our goal was simply to eliminate witnesses, we would have done so already, Taylor snorted, cold comfort. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks even, with the advanced propulsion system of the Horizon. During that time, the human team analyzed everything they had learned about the Lysarians. Dr. Green worked tirelessly with the molecular data Kalira had provided, confirming that it matched compounds found in human blood and developing theoretical treatments that could revolutionize medicine. Amy spent hours recording detailed reports of her conversations with Kalira, trying to capture every nuance, every hint about Lysarian culture and biology. She found herself dwelling on the alien counselor's words, the revelation that immortality might be a cage rather than a gift, the suggestion that the Lysarians themselves were beginning to question their ancient ways. As Earth appeared in the view screen, a bright blue jewel against the darkness of space, Amy felt a complex mix of emotions: relief at returning home, anxiety about what their discoveries might mean for humanity, and a strange sense of connection to Kalira. Despite everything, the alien had shown glimpses of something beyond the cold calculation of her species. Something almost human. The Horizon docked at the orbital station where Earth's highest military and scientific authorities awaited their return. The diplomatic team was immediately escorted to a secure conference facility on the lunar base. Their debriefing lasted days, as every aspect of the Lysarian encounter was examined in exhaustive detail. 6 months later, Amy stood at the window of the newly established Xenological Research Center, watching the snow fall on the Montana landscape. The facility had been built specifically to prepare for future contact with the Lysarians. Amy had been appointed lead xenobiologist, her first-hand experience with Kalira making her uniquely qualified for the role. Dr. Foster, the voice of her assistant, broke through her thoughts. "They're ready for you in the command center." Amy nodded. Following the young scientist through the corridors of the facility, Amy reflected on how much had changed in half a year. Earth's nations had united in an unprecedented way once the Lysarian threat was understood. Ancient rivalries and conflicts had been set aside in the face of a potential existential challenge. Humanity, as it always did in times of crisis, had adapted. The command center was filled with Earth's best minds. Military strategists sat alongside scientists, diplomats, and political leaders, all focused on the large screen dominating the wall. Amy took her place at the central table, nodding to Commander Wilson, who had been promoted to oversee humanity's defensive preparations. "The transmission is coming through." Now a technician announced. Everyone in the room fell silent as the screen flickered to life. Kalira's face appeared, her blue skin and black eyes now familiar to everyone present. "Greetings, representatives of Earth." Her voice was as melodic as Amy remembered. Director Patricia Morgan, Earth's appointed diplomatic lead, responded. "Counselor Kalira, thank you for keeping our appointment. We've reviewed your proposal for cultural and scientific exchange." Kalira inclined her head slightly. "Has Earth reached a decision, Director?" Morgan glanced at the assembled leaders, who nodded. In turn, "After careful consideration, we are prepared to move forward with a limited exchange under strict conditions. A small Lysarian delegation will be permitted to visit our lunar facility. There they will meet with our scientists to begin collaboration on medical applications of your biotechnology. And my request?" Kalira asked. Amy felt the room's attention shift to her. She had advocated for this concession despite significant opposition. "You may speak with Dr. Foster privately," Director Morgan said, "though all communications will be monitored." "Thank you," Kalira said. "I believe our conversation will benefit both our peoples." The formal part of the transmission ended, and the room cleared, leaving Amy alone with the large screen and a small security team positioned discreetly in the background. "It is good to see you again, Amy Foster," Kalira said when the others had gone. "Likewise," Amy replied, "though I admit I'm surprised the Council allowed this communication." Kalira's expression shifted subtly. "Much has changed since your departure. My sharing of information with your team was discovered. I was called a traitor by some, a visionary by others. Our society has not experienced such division in millennia, and the outcome," Amy asked. Kalira made a gesture that might have been the Lysarian equivalent of a smile. "The Council has fractured. 3 members, including myself, now advocate for a new approach to interspecies relations. 4 remain committed to the old ways. The balance of power is shifting slowly but inevitably." Amy nodded, absorbing this information. "And what of your immortality? Have you found a solution?" "Not yet," Kalira admitted, "but your Dr. Green's analysis of our symbiotic organisms has provided new insights. The compound I shared with you has indeed proven valuable for your medicine. I understand Dr. Green's team had developed treatments for several previously incurable human diseases using the Lysarian data. The medical benefits alone had convinced many skeptical leaders that engagement with the aliens might be worthwhile." "What happens now?" Amy asked. Kalira leaned closer to the screen, her black eyes intense. "We continue our work. I, with my faction. You, with your scientists. Perhaps together we can find a path that serves both our species without exploitation, without domination. The old ways are ending, Amy Foster. Whether my people accept it gracefully or fight against it, change is coming. Amy thought about humanity's history, its struggles and triumphs, the constant cycle of progress and setback. Change never comes easily, she said. Not for humans, not for any species. But it does come. Kalira nodded. We have lived for millennia, but perhaps we have not truly evolved. You humans, with your brief, bright lives, understand something we have forgotten: the value of change, the necessity of it. And if the rest of the council rejects this path, Amy asked, what then? Will there be conflict? Kalira was silent for a moment. I hope not, but hope is not a strategy. We must prepare for all possibilities. Amy understood the warning. In the background, she knew Earth's defenses were being strengthened. New weapons developed based on the Lysarian vulnerability. Kalira had revealed humanity would not be caught unprepared, should the worst happen. There is something else, Kalira said, interrupting Amy's thoughts. Something personal. Amy raised an eyebrow. Curious. What is it? The offer I made to you personally for immortality. She paused. It still stands. Amy felt a chill run through her. You can't be serious. I am entirely serious, Kalira replied. My faction has developed a modified version of the symbiotic organism, one that requires no exploitation of others. It draws strength from the host alone, granting extended life, though not true immortality. Perhaps 300 years, you would be the ideal candidate. The first human to bridge our species. Amy was speechless. The offer was tempting. She couldn't deny it. 300 years to explore, to learn, to see how humanity's story unfolded. But there was something unsettling about it too. Something that felt like betrayal of what made her human. Why me? She finally asked. Kalira's expression softened. You challenged me. Amy Foster. You made me question beliefs I had held for centuries. You showed me another way to see the universe that is rare, that is valuable. And if I accept, what would you expect in return? Kalira shook her head. Nothing. You would be free to live as you choose, to share what you learn or keep it private. The choice would be entirely yours. That is the difference between my faction and the old council. We believe in choice, not coercion. Amy looked down at her hands, thinking about everything such a choice would mean. The people she would watch age and die, the loneliness of outliving everyone she loved, but also the wonders she might witness, the discoveries she could make, the bridge she might become between two species. I need time to consider this, she said finally. Of course, Kalira replied. There is no hurry by human standards. The delegation will arrive at your lunar facility in 3 of your months. We can speak further. Then, the transmission ended, leaving Amy alone with her thoughts. She walked back to the window, watching the snow continue to fall, each flake unique, beautiful, and ephemeral, just like human lives. Later that evening, Amy sat in her quarters writing her daily report. Her personal terminal chimed with an incoming message from Earth Command. Priority 1 security clearance. Required. She entered her authorization code and read the message, her heart racing. Lysarian vessel detected at edge of solar system. Not matching authorized delegation signatures. Tactical assessment suggests scout ship, possibly hostile defense grid. Activated standby for further instructions. Amy closed her eyes, feeling the weight of what was coming. The message confirmed what she had suspected. Kalira's faction was not the only Lysarian group interested in Earth. The old council would not surrender its plans so easily. They would try another approach, perhaps force, perhaps deception. She opened a secure line to Commander Wilson. We need to accelerate the defense preparations, she said. The commander's face showed grim understanding. They're coming. Wilson nodded. I'll notify all stations, Amy. Do you think Kalira knew about this? Amy considered the question carefully, remembering every conversation, every nuanced expression in those alien eyes. She thought about the loneliness she had glimpsed, the weight of centuries, and the burden of being the first to question ancient beliefs. I don't know, she admitted honestly. but I intend to find out.